Ayo, back at it again with another video. Thank you all for watching. I greatly appreciate it. So this video is talking about high-speed rail, part 3 in the series. So this is talking about an I-15 high-speed rail from San Diego, Los Angeles up to Vegas, and then on to Salt Lake City. So Socal to Salt Lake. This is part 3 of potential high-speed rail here in the United States. So talked in part 2 about California's high-speed rail from Sacramento down to LA, down to San Diego, up to San Francisco. And then in part 1 talked about an I-5 high-speed rail from Sacramento all the way up to Seattle. So part 1 and part 2 would have Seattle to Sacramento, and then Sacramento, San Francisco, all the way down to LA and San Diego. So that would be a long high-speed rail along the Pacific coast. You can even go to Vancouver. So Seattle, Portland, Sacramento tie into the California high-speed rail all the way down to LA and San Diego. So that was part 1 and part 2. Part 1 and part 2 would make a large existing Pacific high-speed rail, connect Cascadia and California. Part 3, LA, San Diego, so SoCal, up to Vegas, up to Salt Lake City. So I-15, the entire route goes from LA up to Vegas, up to Salt Lake, up into Idaho and Montana, even up into the Canadian border, up to Alberta. So it goes from Mexican border to the Canadian border. The entire route's about 1,400 miles, but we're not going the entire distance, so it would probably be anywhere about 700 miles. LA, Vegas, Salt Lake. So let's look at the metro region of the country. You would be connecting metro region number 2, LA, Long Beach, Anaheim. You're looking at roughly 13 million, 12.8. That's the estimate for 2022. The census during 2020 was about 13.2. You're looking at about roughly 13 million. You'd be connecting that, the second largest, with, you have, I know San Diego's in here somewhere. Yep, San Diego is at 18th with a population of about 3.2, 3.3 million. So 3.3 million be connected with roughly 13 million here in LA. You're looking at about 16-ish million. Be then connected with Vegas at about 2.3, so you're looking at roughly 18.5 million people, and then on to Salt Lake City, which has a metro region population of about 1.2. It looks like it's growing, so it could potentially get up to 1.3 at some point in the next decade or so, maybe a decade and a half. So connect about 1.2 million in Salt Lake with 2.3 in Vegas, so that's 3.6 million. Be connected with San Diego's 3.3-ish, so you're already looking at about 6 or 7 million people in those metro regions, and then connect those 7-ish million people with 13 million in LA, Long Beach, Anaheim. So San Diego, LA, Vegas, up to Salt Lake, you're connecting roughly 20 million people, give or take, depending on, estimates and census records. So San Diego, LA is the biggest one, second largest metropolis in the country, 13 million metro region. But you connect that with San Diego, you connect that with Vegas, you connect that with Salt Lake City. So there's something I want to talk about. So there is a proposal for LA to Las Vegas called Brightline West. If you want to go into a little bit more, definitely look into it. I might be making a video on it in the near term. I think it's a really great idea. So basically it's following this exact route that I'm proposing, that I'm talking about here. LA, Rancho Cucamonga, Victor Valley, up I-15 and up to Las Vegas. Because if you look at busy air routes here in the United States, you have Las Vegas to Los Angeles is the 6th busiest flight route in the country. The busiest route serving 2.8 million passengers aboard roughly 24,500 flights. So there's a serious demand between LA and Vegas. LA to Seattle, that would be, we talked about in the earlier videos, talking about different Pacific high-speed rail. There's a serious demand, 2.7 million customers. Denver to LA, I think that would be another one that has a lot of demand. We can talk about that in a little bit. But LA to San Francisco is the busiest flight route in the western part of the country. It's keeping it NorCal to SoCal. The busiest one is obviously New York to LA cross country, but the busiest flight route in the west, exclusively in the western part of the country, is LA to San Francisco, which ultimately would be what Sacramento, San Francisco, San Jose, down to LA, San Diego. That's ultimately what the California high-speed rail is trying to work on. You have a lot of people wanting to go from San Francisco down to LA. You build a high-speed rail. You don't have to worry about traffic, and you don't have to worry about going through TSA at the airport. So, but this video is talking about LA to Vegas up to Salt Lake. So there is demand. There is proposals in the works for Vegas to LA, high-speed rail. You would then connect to California high-speed rail via Palmdale, LA, Rancho Cucamonga, Victor Valley up to Vegas. So 170 miles, 50 miles, 40 miles. So considerable distance. Ultimately then follow that exact same route up to Salt Lake City, which would be connecting a lot more people, about 1.5 million roughly, give or take, in that. And then if you really want to, you can even connect to Denver, which is growing as well. So that is the video. There's a lot of people that you can connect with on this route. SoCal to Salt Lake, I-15 corridor. Brightline West is already talking about LA to Vegas. So the demand is there. The demand, especially in terms of flight routes, in terms of busy flight routes, the possibility is real. I think this is a great idea. Definitely something to look into, and that could definitely benefit the United States in the long term. So with that being said, that is the end of the video. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Deuces.